So how to actually analyze qualitative data these days? There are so many tools, there are so many AI tools to choose from, there are so many non-AI tools to choose from. Should you choose any of these tools? Should you do it manually? And generally how to make that difficult decision. So in this video, I explain how to do it, how to make that decision, and also explain how you can use any tools that are at your disposal, including Microsoft Word or Excel or even pen and paper to actually do the analysis. I explain how it's so much easier than it seems, and why I also don't believe that any of the current AI data analysis tools are actually good for the job. So as you know, it's been probably 2 or 3 years since the big AI revolution. We have so many tools, so many AI tools, and then more AI tools, and then even more AI tools popping up basically weekly, on a weekly basis. And this includes many tools for data analysis, many tools for students, for researchers, for anything related to research. And I have reviewed many of these things on my channel. I do like many of these tools. I do believe they can support your work in many ways. However, when it comes to data analysis, specifically qualitative data analysis, thematic analysis, you're trying to choose the right tools to do the job. And there are so many different options these days, like I said, including AI tools and including traditional data analysis software, that you may find yourself in a difficult situation where you're simply not sure what to use, if anything. And because I know it can be very confusing, the main point, the main lesson that you will learn from this video is to understand what qualitative data analysis or thematic analysis specifically should involve, what conditions have to be met for this analysis to be successful, and therefore how you can conduct it using basically anything that's at your disposal. Knowing that will help you decide also what tools, if any tools, you actually want to use for the job. But that's the main thing. You have to understand the process and what you need from the process, and then you can tailor anything, pretty much any tool that you have, any software that you have, to conduct that qualitative data analysis. This is something I've been doing. If you've been watching my content, you know I have videos on how to use Microsoft Word. I have videos on how to use visual mind mapping tools for data analysis. Here I explain why and how it's even possible and how you can do that, how you can tailor that to your needs. But first, let me reflect quickly on specific designated AI tools for qualitative data analysis. As I said, there's been an increase in all these tools on the market, and at the same time, I have noticed a trend as a data analyst and a research consultant. I have noticed a trend in the last maybe 6 or 12 months of people coming back to me and people willing to learn about data analysis, or employing me for data analysis, which is one of the services that I offer, doing the data analysis for them, or just meeting them and consulting and teaching them how to do data analysis. In any case, they are turning away from using these designated AI tools for data analysis because quite often they feel like they've been let down by these tools. And I absolutely do not blame them. So I have been using and reviewing some of these tools, and I will come back to that later in this video. But overall, the impression is, and my major criticism over the years, if you've been watching me, of these designated AI tools, where you usually upload your data and sometimes provide the research questions and then get back the results, the thematic analysis, thematic framework back. My main criticism has been the lack of audit trail. Audit trail, which is basically a documentation of how you got from the point of coding your data to your themes, your final themes. You absolutely need to have it. You need to have it, especially in academic settings, when you're evaluated based on the rigor, the structure of your analysis, the validity of the findings. And for that, you absolutely need the full audit trail of what happened before you started to read the transcripts and until up to the moment when you develop your final themes. And what happens in that time, in a nutshell, because I do have a video where under 5 minutes I explain exactly what coding is and what themes are and how to develop your codes into themes. But in a nutshell, what happens is that for the themes which are your general topics and trends running through your data, representing your data, for your themes to be valid, to be accurate, you absolutely have to make sure that they are grounded in the data. They are based on the data rather than, for example, the representation of what you expected the data to be about, or maybe the reflection of some bias, personal bias and assumptions. And the only way to make sure that they are grounded in the data is to code your data, to make sure that your themes are developed from your codes. And coding, as I said, again, I won't be going into full detail of the whole process, but in a nutshell, coding is about tagging your data, almost like summarizing your data. So inserting little summaries of segments of the text. So we're working on that coding framework, we're reshaping it, merging the code, joining them together, renaming them to eventually come up with this list of key topics or our themes. So this in a nutshell is how qualitative data analysis happens. And this is exactly what's missing from these AI tools, designated AI tools for data analysis, because what happens is, of course, AI or machine learning works in a completely different way than human mind, human brain. So they don't need to be doing that. They are looking at all of the data at once, they're analyzing it and giving us the final themes, the final results, which may be good. We will never know that. That's the problem. Maybe good and maybe they're not good. Maybe they've hallucinated along the way, but in any case, it's not good enough. One, because in academic settings especially, but in any settings, arguably, we do need to be able to provide that audit trail. We do need to show that these themes specifically developed this way from these codes, and this is exactly what happened, how the codes developed and evolved into themes. And we can't do it, we can't show it with these tools. They just refuse to give us that option. And another problem with that is that they give us the final result that cannot be altered in any way. So you're either happy or not happy with the final result. And this is it. Usually you can't really manipulate that. You can't do it. You can't change it. You can't rename it. You can't go back or merge some other codes. And most importantly, you can't even utilize it for any other purpose. So what happens in different settings as a researcher, as a student, in many industries, is that quite often you're building that coding framework, you're coding the data, and then you have this foundation. You've laid that foundation, and you can use that foundation for just about anything. So you can use that to publish your thesis, you can use it for a book, you can use it for articles in different journals. You have the foundation with your codes, and then depending on where you're planning to submit or what you're planning to do in general, you can go back to that foundation, these codes, and reshape them and remold them specifically for that one particular purpose. This is what scholars and researchers often do. They can publish as many as 15 or 20 different articles and studies just from one data set. And you can't do it if you're using that AI software, because it just gives you the final themes again. You can't really go and recycle the codes. So this one's been one of my main concerns and my main criticism. So anyway, I do not recommend using these tools. That's something, that's a lesson to be learned. I don't recommend using these tools. Instead, now let's focus on actual data analysis tools. So which tools should you use, if any? So very briefly, because I have whole videos about this topic, if I were to use professional data analysis software, it would probably be one of the key players, basically. So NVivo, analyse, Max QDA, these are designated qualitative data analysis software packages. If you've been following me, you know that I mainly use NVivo. I have whole courses about NVivo. I have videos about NVivo. I teach about NVivo in universities, but I also really enjoy using Atlas TI. All these packages, these software are really good. They are professional. They will help you with everything that I described, everything that you need. Obviously, you'll code the data. They are not going to analyze the data for you. They will just, you can use them to analyze the data. That's how it works. So you'll be coding the data, you'll be developing themes, and then they give you all the options to look into the themes. You can look into the quotes that you need. So dig out the quotes, export the data. So there is so much to be said. It's a no-brainer if you have access, if you have time, if you have money. It depends obviously on our individual circumstances. If you can afford to use this kind of software, that's usually what I recommend using. However, what about all these other options that I mentioned? So you don't have to use software. As I said, you can use anything that you feel comfortable using. And what is funny is that lots of these things, lots of these ideas over the years, I developed them based on or influenced by my students and my clients. So I've seen them making such a creative use of other tools, non-standard tools, to analyze the data. So many of my clients and many of my students use Excel for that. I've seen some of them using Miro, for example, which is a cloud mind mapping, basically visual mind mapping tool. And this, on the other hand, influenced me to record some videos where I explain how to use Screentool, which is also a similar tool, basically a visual tool for building mind maps and organizing your work. I also have recorded, if you've been following me, watching me, I've recorded videos on how to use Microsoft Word to analyze your data. So feel free to watch all these videos if you need them. I'll put the links under this video. But the key point here is that you can use whatever you feel comfortable using. So people feel comfortable doing it manually or doing it, on printouts and using highlighter pens and maybe cutting things out. And if that's the case, if you really feel that this is how you feel confident and comfortable, then usually that's the first sign that perhaps it's the way to do it. Regardless of what you choose, there is just a few considerations to be made and a few major rules and things to bear in mind so that you can use anything you want to use for data analysis. The key point here is that it's really not as difficult as you may think. I already explained what the analysis is about. It's about creating codes, finding a way to systematically assign tags to your data. That's one thing that you absolutely have to do. And whatever tool you choose, you have to be able to do that one way or another. Whether it is in Microsoft Word, creating a table where you put your transcript on the left-hand side column and your codes in the right-hand side column, or maybe using the comments option in Microsoft Word, or maybe it is highlighting text on your printouts, or maybe it's using colors in Microsoft Excel. Whatever it is, you have to find a way to code your data, which means basically to assign some sort of meaning, some tags to the data, the transcripts that you're reading. And the second thing that you absolutely have to be able to do is to trace back the codes, or rather the future themes that you will create from these codes, trace them back to the original quotes. And this is crucial because, like I said, you will have to be able to look into your data. That's the whole point. You're creating the codes. If you're using software such as NVivo, you have a nice list of codes in front of you. And of course, because it's qualitative data analysis software, you can double click on any of these codes. It will take you straight to the quote. And this is, of course, not something that you can naturally do using Microsoft Word or Miro or Scrintal or any of these tools. So whatever it is that you're using, you have to find a way to trace back these themes to the original code. In my tutorial how to use Microsoft Word for that, I explained that I usually develop a theme and then in the comments, using the comments option, I indicate the original codes that were attached to that theme. So one way or another, you have to find a way to do that. Once you get this sorted, once you know how you're going to code your data, so assign these tags to your data, your transcripts, and then how are you going to trace back these final themes to the original quote so that you can actually look into the data and write your findings chapter. Once you sort this out, you can use anything that you want to use to analyze your data. The common misconception is that you're being evaluated, you're expected to use certain software, or you're expected to use certain method, whereas none of that is true. The only thing that is true is that your goal is simply to develop the final result, develop the final thematic framework, and also, of course, be able to demonstrate that you did it, like I said, in a scientific and structured and rigorous way. But how you did that and what tools you've used, it's really not a big problem as long as you felt comfortable about the method that you adopted.